You don't need to have money to live a rich life. And most people get it confused with, well, I went to work and I did this many hours, give me money. There's nothing they do that sets them apart.
Right.
So it's social risk that holds people in this place that prevents them from doing the behavior that attracts, which is giving and going that bit extra. They don't do those things. So opportunity doesn't find them. It stays lost.
Internally, we have integrity. Then it hurts to attempt to put something out that you're not living. Doing the work calls us to be better and up our game. Not only are you congruent, but you're also learning. You know, you're growing in the process.
Yes.
Versus, hey, I'm starting up here and I'm going to teach you. It's like, actually, as I'm teaching you, I'm growing with you.
Most people think, I'm going to start another business. How will I do it? That's the wrong question. I see that in a lot of people that get into business, you would see this too. They're doing a qualification. Like, I can only do it when I do this. When I have this, when someone tells me I'm the expert, then I can start. And I see it all the time. They're like, I need all these qualifications. And I kind of remind them sometimes that Tony Robbins doesn't have any qualifications. He actually borrowed the NLP. You would know this, I think. He borrowed NLP off Richard Bandler and those guys. And he renamed it NAC, Neuro-Associative Conditioning, and just started doing it in hotels. And no one's ever asked him, wait a second, Mr. Robbins, can you just give us your No one's ever. And I find that.
I went to one of his early talks in Toronto, and he not only got off stage, he went in the back room, and he was the guy selling his audio CD. So he was behind the counter. You know,
so he was doing the talk and then selling.
and doing the selling. Yeah, he was in the back room. Yeah, so it's like everyone starts.
What year was that?
Oh gosh, that would have been 90.
Oh, right.
1990 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
A long time ago.
Far out.
But he's always had.
Is that I turned mine off?
That's mine.
Everyone turned. Is that
Bling,
add that
bling.
add that to the checklist?
Yeah, I will. I will.
Phones off.
My wife's the only one that I have.
Can get through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
So
That's good.
hopefully it doesn't happen, ruin the show.
But Tony started off with, like, he came to the scene with confidence, as like he knew what he was talking about, and I think confidence is such a player, isn't it?
Yes, but it comes after courage. And,
True.
And so people, I want more confidence. I'm like, well, sadly you got to have courage first. And you're like the expert in this area.
Yeah.
And so they're looking, what I find people
But so actually, it's the courage that creates the competence, which
Yes.
creates the confidence. It's
Yes.
kind of like the loop.
See.
Without the courage to do it, and like doing this like you're doing, have so much admiration because just starting is the big thing, and then with practice you get the confidence, and then the confidence begins to come, and then something happens. There's that breakthrough moment, and this could be it. You have an international guest flying just to see you,
Just for this show.
with his brand new book.
Do we get that? Do we get
Yeah,
that?
you
I
get
don't
that
know
on
if we got
there.
that
Yeah,
feature.
yeah.
There we go.
Hey, tell him how you felt when he told you he bought your book in Canada, because
Yeah. So we caught up last night at your place for dinner. Luke's there. I get to meet Luke in person. And he said, yeah, man, I went and picked up your book from Chapters. I'm like, what? It's in the bookstore?
in Canada.
In Canada, because when we published it with Wiley, it was Wiley, New York. So it's an American publisher. Because the guy said to me, do you want to build your audience in New York? I'm like, yes. And I'm like, great, but now I can't buy a book from the bookstore. So we've been wanting to go to a store. But the fact you got it from Chapters in Canada, amazing. Because when you're an author, all you think about one day is I'll be in a bookstore.
Yeah,
And someone will buy it.
that's right.
And it's like a bucket list thing. So when you told that to me yesterday, I was like, go me.
I had to hold him. I had to hold him last night as he went to sleep. There's tears. I'm stroking his head. It's like it was a big moment.
Oh, but I did tell Alicia, I'm like, you wouldn't believe it. She's like, what? Luke bought it from a bookstore. She's like, we got to go there. Yeah. So anyway.
I told Naomi, I was like, he was genuinely happy that I bought his book, and it really, it shows the passion too, which is cool.
It's been it's quite a relatively long journey, a process to get a book like that in the store
Okay,
that does okay.
good.
That's okay.
Did you always want to be an author? Was that
I think a lot of people deep inside want to tell a story and they want to, like, if I wrote a book. And so I think everyone's got it in there.
I think everyone's got a book in them.
Yeah.
And I think every single person, if you really talk to them, if the writing wasn't the obstacle, and if they could have a book, I think everyone's got, and especially if they've gone through something and they've gone through a challenge and overcome it, or a lot like my father, it was like his life story.
Yes.
You know, he wanted his children, or I mean, great grandchildren, he never meet to know the origin. So that story was one he really wanted to write. Right.
Cool.
What
Yeah.
about you? A book in you?
I used to want to write a book when I was a pilot called Pilot Peak Performance. I was into the peak performance stuff for so long.
Yeah.
But
That sounds interesting.
But there was
Pilot peak performance, 4 coffees.
it's like, how do you land better? How do you take off better?
How do you autopilot better?
Yeah, totally. But there was no. I think the pathway was just helping people. I think that's always been the message.
Yeah. Here's a book. Oh, we were just in Denver, like a few hours ago. Like,
2 minutes ago.
And I did a talk there, and it was fun. And then the main keynote was Jesse Itzler.
Cool.
He's a rad dude.
Yeah.
And he, in his piece, he said that he discovered, I was telling Dave earlier, he discovered when his father died, he left him in the will. I think it was his father. Left in the will, there's a little book in the holiday house, and it's locked up in a safe. He said, in his will, he put the combination to the safe to Jesse. And Jesse's like, oh, we're going back there in 2 weeks. We'll find it. We'll get it. He opens up the safe and pulls out this old book, and it's a typewritten with a typewriter. And it was his dad's entire story of his grandfather's, well, it was actually his grandfather's story, I think, that his father had saved.
Okay.
Right? And it's how he came to America. Like, wild story of perseverance. And Jesse said it's one of the best books he's read, and it was for him because how the book starts out is it says, this book is not for sale, not for any commercial gain. It's a story for my family.
Cool.
So everyone's got a book, but I'm like, oh, that's a cool. So I think everyone should write like a memoir book at the end of their life.
I think
I actually think, and I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I reckon everyone, if they get buried, I would like have a QR code on the grave, and someone comes past and swipes it.
You know, that is
pretty sweet.
pretty sweet. Yeah. You may not publish that yet because
we gotta
let him protect that before we actually put that on the air.
Better lock it up first.
Yeah. It'll start. You'll see someone. Will
But
do
imagine
it.
it's done in their voice too.
It'd be so good. Imagine if you
And you could ask questions because AI now. You could actually ask
Yes.
questions. So you
make it their
program it,
voice.
and this grave would be like, yeah, actually, my name's Martha. You know, yeah.
What was it like, Martha, in like 80s, 90s? Well,
Yeah.
that's good.
But you only answer the questions that you get asked.
That's
Oh my gosh. Oh, I got goosebumps.
Yeah, that's
all right.
pretty good.
Hey, we got a new business idea.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking to the dead.
Killed for my QR, yeah. Talking to the dead. I see dead people.
Oh, you know, we could play on like The Walking Dead, The Talking Dead.
Oh, there we go.
You're good at this. Yeah. Got the show name, the new business.
Yeah, there you go.
Left turn.
Yeah. Yeah. People are interested in stories. That's why I think, Like when you go to my mum, she loves it. Like she goes to a new country town. Like when we're kids, like, oh, there's a graveyard. Let's go in there and look at the headstones. Because some of the headstones would tell a funny story. And so I think she likes the history of this is where people were, this is what they did. So.
Well, I grew up in England, right? So in Suffolk.
I
And
thought you said and suffered.
that too, and Suffolk. But in Suffolk, so our gravestones, are hundreds of years of age. And so I would go in and I'd have my ruler from school. And I spent a lot of time, I don't know what it is about churches, because in England, the churches were always open. So you could go to these little tiny rural churches and I could get in, I could climb up into the belfry and I could hang out in the church and no one would ever stop me, right? You could just be there. But I'd take my ruler and I'd take the moss off and I would read the name and I'd see when they were born and I don't know why. When I was young, I was like 12, 11, this, right? Yeah, it was really fascinating for me to walk through these graveyards. So
Yeah. You always wonder how people live, Anyway, what does David Goggins say? Every time he goes past a graveyard, he says, there's untapped potential. Yeah. So yeah, and I think doing the book it's a bucket list thing because we had a chance when we wrote the book because I'd written two previous books, Money Grows on Trees, Money Buys Happiness, and Dave's in both the books, and we were going to write a third one as part of our education business. because we have books, courses, coaching, mentoring. And it just didn't fit with the business strategy at the time. And I said to my business partner, what do you think about publishing? He's like, yeah, that'd be an awesome adventure. And a buddy of mine suggested I did it. And then it became a whole like, well, if we're going to publish it, we'll be published authors. We can go bestseller. Let's try and do that. So it became more of an adventure than anything.
Cool.
Yeah. And seems to have worked out okay
Very cool.
so far.
How long from starting it to now? I know the concepts and stuff I know are like years.
I think it was from launch, it was perhaps 18 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And the reason for it would have been a bit faster, but when you go from like, we actually engaged the team that wrote David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, Naval Ravikant's book, the Almanac of Naval Ravikant,
Okay.
and also Dan Sullivan's books, Who Not How, So there's some well-known authors.
Yeah.
So Scribe did those books in terms of they project managed it. So part of me wanting to do this book was like, when I write this book, I'm going to write it with all the principles applied. So in the book, there's one that talks about leverage, which is like people leverage and systems leverage. And it's how you multiply your time. It's how you become time rich. So I was like, well, if I'm going to be in alignment with, I'm going to be congruent with what I talk about, I'm going to do this book. Even like at the time I was running multiple businesses. I was like traveling heaps. There was no time to write a book. And so I do hear people say that, like, oh, if I had the time. So it's like, well, if I don't have the time, then I can't write that book. So part of the project was, well, I'm going to apply all the principles. And part of that was to find the right people, the who, not the how, to write the book. And so they helped me. So to answer your question about the timings, they really helped me stay on track. I did a lot of interviews for the content, then I rewrote parts of it. But it was 18 months.
I'm interested in the first draft, though. It was like a zoo.
Yep.
And I was like, to see the first draft and be so like, oh, this is crap, right? And then have to not restart, but rewrite it really from a different place.
Yeah, it hurt because we were investing a lot in it, and it was like
A lot of time and money.
And we printed out the first manuscript. And when you're dealing with a ghost, like someone who writes with you, there's an element of control you have to release. So that's part of why people don't delegate, because it's like, I lose control. And it hurts a bit in a book because it's got to be your words, your spirit. And what I didn't realize was when that first happens, they call it the first draft of the manuscript. And in my head, I'm thinking, this is going to be great.
We have the perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be perfect. It's going to be finished. And it's just like, I was like, dude, it's this. He's like, man, it's the first. I'm just dumping some of the stuff on paper. We're going to get to that. So it was I had to learn how to delegate to a writer as well.
Good.
So anyway, the whole thing took 18 months and would have been fast.
I want to go back on this idea about, it's like your podcast, right? Is when we start to deliver something to the public in any form, and if internally we have integrity, then it hurts to attempt to put something out that you're not living. And lots of people do it. Lots of people out there right now, especially today. I mean, there's so much bullshit and so much scammy, kind of sticky off, and you almost feel it. Almost feels like I need a shower after I watch some videos. Well, actually, I don't watch them all, but you just get this sense. But I think people, and I put us in this category, is doing the work calls us to be better and up our game, because, every time you sit behind this microphone, the things that come out your mouth, and I've watched your stuff and it's so great, but it's because, not only are you congruent, but you're also learning, you're growing in the process.
Yes.
Versus, hey, I'm starting up here and I'm going to teach you. It's like, actually, as I'm teaching you, I'm growing with you, which I think is your style.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, someone even said, you write a book for others as much as you write it for yourself. I spoke to Dave about this. We were all going to the gym yesterday he's got a Harley and I'm on the back. We're going to the gym.
I still want to see a picture.
Yeah, and that's Dave's life. And so we're having a conversation on the bike about the book, and I said, I wrote it as much for me as others because I wanted to be time rich. Mm-hmm. So I think that what you said is perfect. It's you learn by doing, and it keeps you accountable. Very accountable.
Well, I find even with the social media stuff for myself, because I'm just getting into the game, and I've talked to you about this, and like the fear and the judgment and all the stuff that I've been working through, and then creating posts, I've realized that so much of it's just for me. Just like you wrote this book for you to execute on. So many of my posts are like, I just learned this. I really, I feel compelled to share this.
Yep.
I don't know why. Probably because it's like a reminder to myself
Yes.
in many, many ways.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that book, and my wife holds me accountable. She's like, when someone says stuff to me, I'm like, oh, I'm busy. She goes, you're what?
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So I'm like, yes.
When you imitate your wife, I think we should do it with a nice, you what?
Yeah, it does.
I see that.
No, yeah, no.
And she says, you what?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Yeah.
Is what
More
she
like
said.
that. Yeah.
That's I asked her, my partner, whenever she makes, like, she imitates me, she does this face and I'm like, what? And I don't sound like that.
Yeah.
So I'm hypersensitive.
My wife
'cause
is
she
not
does
like that at all. She'd be like, babe.
She gets off her broom and goes, you what?
Yeah. She has no cackle. She has a wonderful laugh. Anyway, yeah. So she holds me accountable. That's why I love her.
But that's why you do the work. I mean, I don't know. There are people who go out and they start to do the work because they want to get money. And there are people, and I know Lloyd's story, I know your story, I know my own story, right? Where we were doing the work as part of our life journey. Yeah. And within there became the opportunity to help others find, or, you know, do you see what I'm saying? It was kind of accidental. I don't think the day you went to your first personal development program, you're like, oh yeah, one day I'm going to write a book and I'm going to be flown in by first class by this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about a book that was purchased from a Canadian bookstore. No.
The only one. There was only one in the country.
Yeah.
He found it.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was the last one.
The last one. Let's hope the others were sold out.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, I didn't think that. But what's also interesting is before I wrote my first book, I had these rules in my head that, well, if I'm going to write a book, there has to be a compelling story. So I wanted to become a millionaire, and have a net worth of $1 million and build at the time, it was our network marketing business, over $1 million. Kind of separate out myself or ourselves from the pack. So move into a 1% club, because I just set the rule for myself. I'm like, well, I'm not going to write a book until I've achieved X, Y, Z. So at least I feel like I have some authority on the topic. So that's what prevented me doing it earlier. But also, it's a pain in the ass to write a book. Well, I think you do it well. You enjoy the write. I mean, I do enjoy writing, but it's a project too. So it's on your mind a lot, you know? And you want it to be so good. There's like, you know, like
and also you love things to be really hard. So
yes,
yeah. I think the reason he came to visit and live with me was to figure out everything doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah.
Oh, so true. So true.
Yeah. I was, because Dave, we did a workout this morning and he noticed that. Yeah, some old habits. Doing hard things.
Is it one of those make it hard so you can?
I've got a really
feel
good
justified.
I've got a really good friend of mine that David knows, and he's that dude, and I love him, and I'm associated with him a lot too. So
he was like the heavyweight champion
He's a
boxer of
professional fighter.
Australia.
I mentioned it in the book.
Yeah.
in the book, he actually wrote the foreword
Oh, cool.
in the book. Yeah, Gavin. So there you go. So he's I want to do everything hard. So I guess I picked up those
I see that.
elements of that. And then
Well,
Dave's
well,
like,
talk about when he came up to you. He says, listen, I'm going to sign you up for a 100-kilometer race.
yeah.
And they had do you have 8 weeks to train?
There's some interesting things about that, because the second I did 2 boxing fights, because he had a program you could come and train for 10 weeks and do a boxing fight, an amateur fight, 3 rounds, 2 minutes. It's hard. But the second time I did it was at his house, and he had this fight club at his house. And nighttime, there's these drums with fire brewing, and there's this big ring, and there's like 300 guys there, men only. And it was like 6 bouts, and I was the last bout. He liked to keep the final card. Okay. And I'd fought this guy I was fighting in the second one was just bigger, strong guy, and love the guy Andy. He was a good guy. We trained together.
Cool.
But there was new rules that Gavin brought in that night, and he didn't know until that night that there's new rules. And the new rules, I'm like, what the heck are the new rules?
Nunchucks?
No, this is worse. Probably worse. He goes, we're going to do 3 rounds, but the last round is until.
What?
Until someone until quit.
Until you quit or you get knocked out.
Okay.
There's no ending.
Oh, no bell.
No bell. And I was like, I mean, It's like
How many
torture.
minutes was it in the end? Do you remember?
Well, for others it was a bit longer, but for me it was 5 minutes.
But still.
Done. What had happened was I was so done. I was just getting bashed, and he's like, and I wasn't gonna go down, and he knew that. He's like, he ain't going, and I was just in my head. I was thinking, please God, take me. I'm ready, because my body was just flooded with it's not the punch, it's not the getting hit, it's the lactic acid. It's just
The burn.
You're exhausted. It's like someone said, "What's it like?" I said, "It's like being at the gates of hell." Just take me. I was ready. Just knock me out. Ready to get out of here. And he threw the towel and he helped me, so that was good. But he's the type of guy.
Okay.
And getting to David's point is that he said to us after that, he said, you got to do something else. You're going to do another hard thing. I said, well, I've always wanted to run a marathon because it's a bucket list item. He said, what? Old grandmas do that. And it's something he would say too. So I was like, okay, what do we do? And he said, I found something. I was like, what is it? He goes, 100-kilometer ultra marathon. I was like, I hate running. And I said, I'll do it. But are you going to do it too? He said, oh, I'll do it. And then my wife saw it. She says, I'm going to do it.
Nice.
And her sister said, I'm going to do it. And then his daughter said, I'm going to do it. So 5 of us started training for this thing. And we only had 8 weeks to train. I hadn't run up 10 kilometers. Like 10 kilometers was the most I'd run.
Okay.
So we started training for this thing 8 weeks. And I think it's better, like how we started this podcast episode. It's like, hey, let's just start.
Mm-hmm.
And right? Let's just start. So we did. And we went to the hills the first day. You wouldn't believe it. We had no water. It was stupid.
Okay.
And as we got going, we figured out where the gaps were. So if you don't start something, you don't identify where the gaps are as faster. So you're not going to learn as quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we did. It was pretty stupid, but we finished it. There was 300 people bought tickets. 150 people showed up to the start line.
Ooh.
And 75 people finished.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's wild, yeah.
This guy, the first time I met him, he was a student at one of my programs, and I always, but my programs where you're experiential, I took everyone on a high ropes course, and there was this one big zip line, and he's there with his wife, and she's really, really gentle and quiet, and he's a ex-heavyweight champion boxer, but he is also a man that's alive. He's completely alive.
He's very alive.
And he's like, I look at him, and I meet him for the first time, and this is what he gets on the zip line, and he looks back at everyone in the line. He goes, "Yippee-yi-yay, motherfuckers!" He goes scooting across, But he just lives that life. And then one time we're in Vanuatu, and he's with my son Ben, and we're in the back of these jeeps going down and through this rugged road, and there's a active volcano, and we're going past these massive rocks that have been thrown out by this volcano. I mean, we're talking about the size of a house. And suddenly he leaps off the back of the truck. Ben, come with me, my son. And he starts to run up the side of this volcano. He's like, he's just that guy. And
he's gnarly.
Yeah. And so he's pushed you into a lot of different.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's also,
hey, if you're watching this, Gavin, we love you.
yeah. That's why I got him to do the forward too. He's just such a great guy. Yeah. He's actually like, you meet, like David is like this too. You need characters in your life that, and I've said this as well, that outside of my dad, it would be Gavin and David that have had the most influence in my life.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, totally. And that's why I talk about him a lot in the book. But yeah, this guy's gnarly, and so you gotta be ready when you're around him, man.
Yeah,
you just don't know what's gonna
like
happen.
it. And he's what age right now?
He's like 52.
Oh, is he young?
He looks a professional fighter.
Gavin, you look really old.
He's a professional fighter. He's been in some towed up boxing matches. But he's got so much life in him.
Well, you wouldn't put his face on a stamp.
He's 52, but yeah, he's living. He's like you.
He's a youth. Yeah.
He's a very youthful 52.
Yeah.
I think he's 52. You know, like what you said to me today. You've got friends like I'm a lot younger than you, and with Gavin, and I've also got younger friends too. And you think when you get past a certain age, it's just who do you gravitate to? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's good.
Ask me about that, and I have a lot of younger friends, but it's the energy. It's like it's just there's an energy level, and there are so many people my age. I mean, to think that. I'm going to be 65. And, for some people that's sort of, retire, right? But it's just like, I don't know. When I look outside my body, I feel as young and as vibrant as I ever have because I don't think about age. But certainly a lot of people my age are like old and they seem old, they act old, they sound old. So to be around younger people that have that fire and that passion. I'm attracted to that, and it's not about the age thing. It's just about that,
Yeah.
let's go, but it's hard to find young people to keep up.
I believe
I
that.
went and worked out with him
believe
yesterday, and I was like, this is no word of lie. I did come off an international flight. I've been flipping, doing things, and I haven't been doing a lot of intense training. And I went and trained with David and one of his friends, and now a friend, Sean. And I was like, I think I'm going to do okay. But man, I just got destroyed. And I was like halfway through, I'd run out of the garden and throw up and then come back.
Oh, that's commitment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you have to do that.
He's not a quitter.
I'm not a quitter. But they're fit, man. Like they're both fit. I mean, Sean's like similar age to me, but David's not, and he's flipping fit. You got to be careful when you do things with him. 'Cause he's not. He's fit.
Well, what's the next big one for you? Is the swim?
On Saturday in 2 days, which I've been training for all week. Apparently, I've 5 weeks of
It's like
visitors.
the worst week to get.
That was an interesting thing because the water's been, I could swim across a pool, but I did a triathlon a few years ago, and I was the last athlete out of the water out of 800 athletes, and I was 1 minute from disqualification. And it was just so hard. It was just one of these things, and in the middle of the lake, and there's nowhere to go. Yeah, and all you got to do is face yourself. So then I really wanted to start pushing myself into swimming where it no longer had that energy on me. So I started doing the cross lake swim. So I've done the cross lake swim here which was 2.1. But this year, the way I approach it, and I had my mask actually broke, so I had filled with water 3 times. So even though I did it in my fastest time, I was really struggling with my math, but I didn't allow that to become a problem, even though it really was. And then I got out of the water and I really felt called to do something beyond. So now it's 4.5 on Saturday. And you asked me on the motorbike. You said, it's funny how we talk on the motorbike. You think you couldn't, he's got a full face helmet on.
It's David's new podcast.
That'd be great. Yeah, on the bike, right? And but it was just like, you asked me, you said, like, are you prepared for the swim or something?
Yeah.
And I said, I just haven't thought about it. And then today I was in the shower, I was like, it's in 2 days.
Yeah, that's how you live. I like how you do that because David, he was telling me how he went bungee jumping with his son, Ben. And Ben was terrified, quite rightly, because I've done that same bungee and it's absolutely terrifying. It's like the biggest in New Zealand.
Nevis.
The Nevis, yeah. You don't want to do it. But you also do want to get the breakthrough. So he took his son, and he's saying that Ben was, quite rightly scared, and as was I, because we were all thinking about the ledge. And David, when he does stuff and he goes up to the Nevis, he wasn't probably scared until maybe he stepped onto the ledge. He's like, oh, there's that bridge I was going to cross. It's here. But it didn't interrupt him before. So he was talking to people.
Yeah, Ben asked me, he said, how come you're not scared? I said, well, what did you do? Like from the morning, once he found it, he didn't know. We did 7 days of fear. So every day we did something that scared him. And I said, my only wish is that you understand fear and you understand what's on the other side of it. And so, and Nevis, you say potato and I say potato, right? Was one of these, it's the 3rd highest bungee jump in Australasia. So it's massive and it's very intimidating. It's suspended between 2 mountaintops and it swings in the breeze.
It's in a ravine.
It's in a ravine. There's no water. I mean, it's just like, it just looks intimidating.
Yeah.
But Ben got stuck on the edge and, they go 3, 2, 1, he meant to jump. And Ben, after the 3, 2, 1, they're not allowed to push you. So he turned around and said, can we start from 10? And you can see the video of him all hunched up and nervous. But he's like, Dad, how come you're not scared? I said, well, what did you do all day? I said, oh, no. I said, what did you see me do on the bus? He said, you were talking to that guy. And I said, well, what did I do when I checked in? He said, you were asking the guy behind the counter questions about his life. I said, and what did I do when we were... And he said, well, yeah. And I said, well, what were you thinking about when you got on the bus? He said, dying, right? And it's just that difference is I didn't think about the ledge until I stood on it. And I knew my only job was as soon as they said 1, I was going to jump. I wasn't going to think about it. But that's when I looked down and your feet are tied, your ankles tied, and you're looking down into that ravine. Of course, I had every same feeling that Ben had, but he'd had them all morning. And I had it for those few seconds. And I knew that as soon as we got to 1, I was going to jump. So my terrified moment lasted about 4 or 5 seconds, where his had lasted for about 5 hours.
Oh, fascinating.
Right?
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's a good lesson, though, because most people... I was asking Dave at dinner, I said, so do you get anxiety much? because anxiety is caused by living in a future that you don't. It's uncertain, or you think of the worst things that's going to happen, and you live in that story before it even happens. He says, no, I probably don't get a lot of anxiety because he's living in the present, and that's a good lesson.
I think it's not understanding the definition of the word fear, right? So if we look at the definition, and a lot of people say it's false evidence appearing real, but that's not a definition of the word fear. The definition is the anticipation of pain. So people also, and as a pilot, I mean, you're a pilot, helicopters, whatever. I mean, people say, oh, I'm afraid of flying. And I said, well, no, you're not. You're actually afraid of crashing.
Yeah,
That's the truth.
Yeah.
So you're not really afraid of flying at all. The flying part doesn't bother you. The crashing bothers you. But you have to really go forward a long way to be scared. Now you're thinking about what if, when we crash, all these different things. So for me, that and understanding that the anticipation is actually a future word. It's not a present word. Yeah. It's not a past word. It's a future word. So fear can only exist in the future. So knowing that, whenever I do anything, and I'm always pushing myself to do things, if I think I'm scared about something, I'm going to address it as fast as I can, but elegantly. It's not like I'm going to throw myself into the fire, but I will if that's necessary. But it's understanding that as long as I stay out of the future, and as long as I attempt, and I know it takes work, to be present, then I can overcome any fear that I feel like this. The anticipation. If I'd have told you that you were going to interview him first, you would have gone into because this is new. Your mind would have gone, oh shit, I got to get the questions. And we didn't tell you anything. We just showed up and said, all right, you're interviewing. And we threw you in the deep end. And look how great this is. It feels so real.
Yeah.
Right? There's no, and you were stressed for a little bit, and now you're here, right?
Yeah, we're here. Over my fear.
Yeah. How do you feel? How do you feel about that? That process when you were just thrown in? Because I know you were a prepper.
It's good. I think it's good for me to do it. I have my fears, of course. I have the stuff that I need to move through, but I guess that's it all comes back to control for me.
Yeah.
Can I control it to make it the best I can? Can I set it up for success?
But what if the best you can is not perfection?
Oh, yeah, that's working on that.
Yeah, because there's this element now of humanness that has to come out because AI is going to take all the humanness away. And humanness is not perfection, it's the imperfections. Yeah. So by saying, I need to get it perfect, you're actually not doing it authentic. So it's a paradox a bit. Like the best thing is the thing that happened.
The human part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why when we even started this show off, it's like, are we rolling? Let's just roll and talk because it's authentic and real. It's how people would talk if they weren't in front of a camera, I think.
Yeah, and that's what you've helped me with the authenticity part. I remember when you said, Luke, you're a really nice guy. At what cost?
Oh! Did you go away and think about that, not sleep and lay in your bed?
I'm like, is that a compliment?
He became an asshole for about 2 weeks and realized that didn't work either.
At what cost? Wow.
But then it was the masks, wearing the masks, and that was a big awakening for me, and just a different way of doing things. And so, down the journey of doing it differently, for sure.
You feel liberated.
Oh, for sure. You can't go back.
No.
Yeah, once you go down there, you just can't reverse.
It's so interesting because David taught me how to live like that too.
Cool.
I went to one of his programs, the first one in 2014 in Perth.
Cool.
And so it accelerated my ability by going back and working with him to do it faster and better and better and better. So it's almost like I was sheathing off an onion layer or taking mask off. And I'm still probably doing that to some degree compared to him because he's same person. He was meeting the Queen. He was like, hello. He'd be the same, right? It would be. Hello.
You did your face.
That's it. No. Hello. Pat her on the bum. Hello. Hello. Yeah. So, so I'm not there yet, but that's where I want to go. But I was going to say that now that I know that, because I mentor and coach a lot of students too, and I notice when they come in, you can see the mask immediately, and you see it in the way they talk, because you get taught to speak a certain way in corporate, and they're very and it's this it's this language, and it's so funny because that's not how we talk, and it's even in emails. Further to my previous, it's who the hell talks like that? And what I noticed was people were going to work and being someone, not them, and they were even in a suit. They were dressing for a specific character, and then they'd come home, get in their jumper, and say, "Oh, now I can be myself." And that's like you've got to unlearn that, don't you? You have to escape it.
Well, someone asked me, I do a Q&A on my Instagram now on Sundays. Just if you have a question, ask me and I'll answer it. But it's called no BS, raw and real. And I answer them. And I could tell because it takes me a while not only to answer them, but I actually write quite a lot rather than a glib answer. And somebody asked me about how do you become more authentic? And I said, well, look, start by just find the person anywhere in your life where you're most real, most authentic, and then do that with everyone else. And then some of them will really lean in and love it, and others will just bail. And I said, great. Then you'll get rid of those and you can just be yourself. But that's the way, is just to find where you feel that comfort and where you're absolutely yourself. And then just do that everywhere. Because we were talking about that. Was that on the bike as well?
Yeah.
I was talking about how I walk into people's lives. I don't care who they are. And I just treat them as if they're already in my life. Like when the first time I meet them, I just wander in, open their fridge. I just get in their life. And I just right, look how we met, right? We met at the airport.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just like that, walking into someone's life, and it feels like you give people permission to be authentic by being authentic. So it actually allows somebody else to be real. And I suppose I'm used to it. I don't know how other people take it, but I don't care.
They're envious of it because they want to live like that deep inside, I think. They go, wow, I'd love to live that free. I think that's probably what it is. It's an admiration that you're able to do that, because it's the courage to be you in all circumstances, and it's the courage to be disliked if they don't like it, right? Like what you said. If they don't like it and they back out, let them go. And it's like this fear of, there's a book written, the courage to be disliked.
Awesome book.
Yeah. So that's what it's about. Because he said to you, David said to you, at what cost is it to you to be nice all the time? So it's very wise.
Oh, well, when you've lived as long as me, I've got underwear older than you. Oh, no, I talk like this. Hello. Oh, what, mate? Grab your bum.
I just imagine me meeting the Queen. Hello, tap her on the bum. Cup of tea.
You like some crumpets with those buns?
Funny. But, yeah. There's a lot of deep discussions on the motorcycle.
Yes.
Riding through life. The ride of your life.
The ride of your life. Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway. Back to the book. No.
Back to the book.
Why are we here? Why are we here again? What would you like to talk about?
Let's do a fearless plug of this.
I don't know if that's what we're supposed to be talking about.
We should read the back. It's the best bit.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's the bit I wrote.
It wasn't glib. Good word.
Glib. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess this is why we don't often do three-way podcasts, because
we don't get to the point.
It's fun. Yeah.
It's
good.
I like
I think the threes are good. Well, actually, I think more and more that
love
do
this.
threes.
There are, but it's the first time I've done one. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can go back.
Once you go through.
I've seen the promised land.
Once you do, once three. We can't make it rhyme.
Someone who's listening to this, like, will you get on with it? In their
Tell
car?
me, talk about this for a second.
Yeah, I'd love to. I think the cool part about reading the book is I had so much to align with it, and we think the same way that I mentioned to you earlier. But I've read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week, and then I built a life around a whole bunch of very time rich. And so it's like, oh, I'm with this. But then I built this life where I have a hard time saying this, but I don't work that hard. Like, I don't work that much. Almost everyone I know works more than me. And so I've built...
my friend David.
Yeah. Exceptions. There's exceptions for sure. But like, I built this life. I built a life that I don't work that hard. I don't work that much. But then when I do work, it's good. But it has been very uncertain. It's been very, because I'm 100% commission based. So if I don't make a sale, the pile gets used up and then move on. And what was really nice about reading this book was the first chapter was moving because it was about getting a clear, definite purpose. And it was also unraveling some of my beliefs that, oh, if I want to do more, be more, I'll have to give up what I have right now because I love my life right now. I love it. I'm so grateful. And I moved into this place where I love where I am. So it's like, well, I don't want to do more, be more because this is pretty sweet right now.
Yeah.
But what the book helped unravel for me is that no, you can. You can have that path. You can build towards it because a lot of it was like, I don't want to give up my time.
Yes.
But this is showing like a playbook with a fucking checklist at the end. Like how beautiful,
pilots are
right?
like, yes.
Yes,
The
please.
checklist.
Oh yeah, he got aroused.
Yes.
Oh, look at this.
That's cool.
And then to like execute on, which is really empowering.
Yeah. It's interesting because that was my mindset. And it was when our friend Gavin, we were running one morning, as I talk about in the book, and he said, why don't you have another business? I was like, oh, well, I don't want to be more busy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the notion that to add another business meant you had to do all the work yourself. And that was because I had an old mindset of what Dan Sullivan talks about, which is how, not who. So most people think, well, if I'm going to start another business, how will I do it? How will I do this? How will I do a pod? How will? And he says, that's the wrong question. It's who will do it? Who will do it for me?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I learned in business was through partnerships and people leverage and systems leverage that you can actually achieve a lot more and make a lot more money. In fact, you do. It's the only way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't do the work, you find others who are excited to do that particular thing you don't want to do. And another mentor said to me once, my delegation is your personal development.
Mm-hmm.
And it allowed me to kind of then delegate without feeling like I was enslaving anyone to work that I didn't want to do. Because if you don't do that, you're blocking their own skill development.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of young, hungry people out there that want a chance. So those types of new mindsets I developed helped me to back out of, oh, I have to be busier to get wealthier. No. What if I could achieve more by actually doing less? And so
That's pretty
it probably helped you contend with what you already have. You're like, well, I'm already doing that, so that's good. I'm on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like you are. So
Yeah, because I love the systems, the blending technology and using all the services and working all that together is so important. But it was also the cool thing for me when reading this book and when I read yours. We could talk about that next.
The unpublished book.
yeah, good name.
I think the
Unpublished.
one of like to think about a book in terms of my energy level, which is very weird because if I read a book and I get tired, that's like my subconscious being like.
Mm-hmm.
But when I read this one, I was jacked like 2 a.m.
Oh, that's amazing.
I was going to say, but you only just bought it. When did you buy it?
Like a week ago.
Oh,
Jesus.
And like
great.
I
You know,
don't,
like 85% of people never read the whole book anyway.
I don't read that much. Like
Well
usually
done.
like a few a year. So like when I started reading it, and the energy goes up, and
thank God.
yeah, that which is pretty cool. And the same thing when I read yours, I read his first
Yeah.
one, and I'm going through it, and then it's like 2 a.m. I'm just like vibrating, and Naomi, she's like, "You need to leave the room because I can't sleep with you beside me."
You're
right
literally
now."
vibrating.
I was.
Did you read another book?
Which is pretty cool.
David's stories are just the most amazing stories.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we learn through storytelling. And so that's why, I mean, I've heard lots of David, not all of them, but lots of them. And he's got such a great gift at teaching through story. And that's why when I wrote this final book, I was like, I have to make sure I have the stories that go with it. And sometimes if I read a book and I'm not lit up from it or I'm not jacked, it's because the story's been missing. And that's why school was so hard, because they would teach us these lessons, but they never, hey, calculus was created because Newton wanted to actually measure the stars, and there was no background. So it's hard to teach if it's just dry, bang, 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 bang. So as an author, you learn that the story component is the most powerful in a book. Yeah. And if you miss it, they don't learn as well, the reader, but also it's not entertaining.
Well, it's like a textbook.
Yeah.
It's like a checklist. Oh, sorry.
Boring.
Boring textbook. No, that's right. So, yeah, which is also why I think books will still continue long after AI. And people, they might think, well, books will be replaced by AI, but AI.
But can you tell? I can say when even an email that's written by AI, I can feel it. It's almost like we talked about this. The soul is missing. But something just came up in my mind. It's funny. One of my favorite books. People always say, "What's your favorite book you've ever read?" And it's called West with the Night by Beryl Markham, and she was the first woman pilot in Africa. And she was actually one of the early women pioneers of flying. She was the first person ever to fly east to west across the Atlantic.
Oh, cool.
She crashed into a peat bog in Newfoundland. But her stories were so rich. And I actually bought the book as a gift for my ex-girlfriend's mother for her birthday. And I thought, I'll just read the first chapter. And I read it, and I have a copy of it. And then 40 years later, I get a package from my dad from England. And I'll show you when you come over to the house. And my dad had written an inscription, and he said, I found this book. And my dad had no idea this was my favorite book, and it's the one that I've had for all these years. He sends me the same book, and he talks about how, you get goosebumps,
Wow.
How, this author and how it moved him and how he thought I would just love this book.
That's really cool.
But about flying. And so many of her stories are around flying. And the first chapter is called Mugway. And she's flying over Africa. Remember, we're talking about 1930s. I mean, she's in a biplane flying over Africa where there's no lights. And she can hear the sounds of the animals delivering an oxygen mask to a mine to save someone's life. But it's just like, and I was just enthralled, Anyway, so funny we talk about great stories and great books, right?
Well, your life kind of reminds me a little bit of a book I read that I love that my dad said to read was, and I don't know if you've read it. It's called My Wicked, Wicked Ways. Have you read that book?
No.
It's
I'm going to.
And it's the autobiography of Errol Flynn.
Oh.
And it is like filled with adventure. Anyway, I don't want to give away the book. It's how my dad said to me once, you want to live a life as a man, part Richard Gere in Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
And the other part Indiana Jones.
Cool.
And so that was kind of like this.
Well, I think I feel very proud. That's
Yeah.
I think I hit those two sweet
Yeah,
spots.
I think you hit him.
No, but what's really interesting that his dad, like I haven't met his dad. His dad's watched me train apparently, but I'm in love with his. When you hear stories about someone and you already think you know them, and we connected. Our friendship was born one night. We were in Manchester in UK, and we were telling stories about our dads, and that's kind of how this is how we became friends. It was like,
yeah. And then David started telling jokes, and the rest was history. Yeah, that was great.
We were telling jokes today during plank.
Okay.
So and he's like, and we're sweating, and like we're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was like
every time I told one, he knew the flippant answer. I was like, this guy's good. Yeah.
So it's really interesting. So let me ask you a question about this book then. So what was your takeaway from this book that you want to implement? And you say you bought it a week ago. Now you've got I don't know how you did that. How did you buy a book and then you suddenly brought the author across the world to interview? I don't know how you did that.
I know
good,
this guy.
Good shit.
That's
No, but then talk to me about what's been a takeaway that you want to bring into your world from this so far. I know so far because you'll probably reread it.
I think the clear, definite purpose is really important because I've been like really content where I'm at.
Right.
But I haven't been like going somewhere. Like I had this drive, and then over the past, I'd say 4 years, it just got and I think it was just a phase. It was just a rest period.
Yeah.
And now I could feel the energy coming back, and this is like gave it a little boost.
Yeah.
But yeah, having a clear, definite purpose where you want to go, how you want to do it. I think for me, what I mentioned earlier, the addressing the belief. Like I didn't know, this is what I love about blind spots is you don't know that these tethers are hooked into you, holding you to the ground.
Yes.
And you're trying to take off and you can't even see them. But I had the belief that I'll have to sacrifice my current life for a potential life that could be worse. Like there's a fear or anxiety of the future, right? But then to say, oh no, you can build it and execute on it and do it.
Yeah.
And get help. I have to ask for help. That's definitely the delegation chapter was great.
Yeah.
The guilt section was great because as a pilot, you're just you get used to just doing it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, you do it yourself because you know you can do it right, correctly. It's often done faster. You can't be bothered to train someone. And these are all the things that stop us. But to get more time back, you cannot do it alone. You can't. It's a team sport. So, yeah. It's, and I don't live this lot, like I don't live a 10 out of 10 time-rich life either. And if you write a book, people often think, well, you've figured it out. That's it. And it's a constant, I think of it as I live on this, like a spectrum, not the spectrum, but a spectrum.
Okay.
Or a, a line of like busy in one end, completely like no time. I have no choice. I'm being told what to do. It's just the worst, like a 9-to-5 grind in a place I'm not appreciated. That's like the worst. And on this end is like absolute freedom and wealth and doing all the things you want to do with the people you want to do them with. And so we all live on this scale. And I always just attempt to ask myself, where am I at on the scale? And I always want to make sure I keep moving up the scale as much as I can. And I will only move up the scale if I am applying correctly the laws in the book of who will I find to do this, instead of asking how I will do it myself, and delegating and finding systems and heading towards a goal. And if that's out of kilter, then I slide back down the scale. And you start to feel it too, because you start to get pulled apart a little bit because there's lots going on. And as soon as I feel that, I know that I'm breaking the laws. And so I just want to reapply them whenever I can.
Cool. Very cool.
Just quickly, if you're ready to take control of your finances but feel stuck on where to start, I have a solution. My book, Money Buys Happiness, simplifies investing and wealth building with practical steps to help you achieve financial peace. Get your copy via the link in the show notes, and let's get your money working for you. Now back to the episode.
I have a question from my list of 100 that I made. And so
A checklist of 100.
you had this section, and you talked about using your head, your heart, and your body for decision making. And I'd like to throw this at both you guys.
That's so funny because I've got a story that happened yesterday.
Because I used to be all logic. I used to be all stoic logic. And
It's actually a wonder we ever became friends.
yeah,
Yeah.
Who's the boring guy?
Yeah.
But then I got
data driven, right?
it's very data, very logical. And they said communication is, I don't know what the numbers are, 14% words, and the rest is all interpreted. And I was like, no, it isn't. The communication is 100% words. It's word for word what it means. But then that created a lot of pain in my life because someone said they were clearly saying something they weren't going to do. They said they were going to do it, but then I'd be disappointed. But if I look back, I'm like, they were never going to do that anyways. So life cracked me open, started to feel. And yeah, the transition from just solely using this part to get things done is, I think, pretty cool. So I want to ask both you guys, like, what
Tell
does
us,
it- what
tell
does it
your
look
story
like for
from
you guys?
yesterday.
Well,
I don't know what the story is. I'm interested to hear it.
well, it's not a huge story, but it's
That's a
interesting about
change for him, by the way.
yeah. Hey, I got to catch a flight later. I got to.
This guy is the master of like 4-hour stories. It's like,
It's funny. It's true too. But so I was doing a training I was doing my master NLP practitioner training, and there's 15 days in a room, and it's pretty brutal. And I noticed a lot of people in there. The trainer, who's very effective, she said that to the crowd or the audience. She said a lot of people think their feelings. I was like, holy shit, it's profound. And they were, because during moments where they probably should have cried under normal circumstances, they didn't, because they were thinking the feeling instead of feeling the feeling. I was like, wow, that's profound. So to your point, when life cracked you open, you said you started feeling. And that has happened to me over time too, from personal development, where it was a bit of a weakness to show feelings.
True.
And so I've had to learn to feel my feelings as well. So that I've become better at making decisions on feeling than just thinking. And David seems to make he's definitely more of a feeler when decision making, but I'm learning to do that as well a bit more openly. But yesterday, to help me do that, he has this coin. David has this coin. I've heard about the coin story over the years, and if he comes to an impasse or a fork in the road where a decision ought to be made, and he can't quite make one, and it doesn't have to be a crazy big decision. He says he just flips a coin, and that's so cool. It's like, imagine living your life by the flip of a coin. And then as he talks the story, he's like, and I flipped a coin, and I went down that. And I was like, that's such a cool choose your own adventure, or let the coin choose your adventure life. And so I was like, that's cool. I'd love to have a coin like that one day. And I don't know where you buy yes or no coins from. Anyway, so yesterday I'm just in the kitchen at his house. He says, oh yeah, pulls open the drawer. Have this. And he chucks me this coin. And I was like, oh, it's the coin. And I walked into the bedroom where my wife and I are staying at his house, and he's like, and I said, you know what David gave me? He's like, what? I'm like, the coin.
The coin.
And then we just joked around saying he's probably got like a whole drawer of them, and gives them to again. But I was very moved, and I'm excited.
Cynical
by the prospect.
bastard.
Yeah. We're just joking around, but so I flipped it, and I tried it out.
Cool.
And he said to me, and it came up with no. And I was like, oh, but I really want to do that.
This one's broken.
Yes. Like,
He gave me this coin because it's broken.
Yeah. Just both no.
Turn into a hermit.
What happened to him? And I said, well, I really wanted to do it. And he said, well, the coin is not the be all and end all. It's not the oracle. It's if you feel that, then go with the feeling. It's like, that's cool. So it probably prompts me to be more of a feeler, or more in tune with my thoughts to make decisions. So, but you want to talk to that?
Yeah. Well, how the coin works, when I have extra, but what I do is I carry one. The one I give away is the one I carry. I don't go to the drawer, but I bought extra because I don't give them away to everyone. I tend to want to give them away to people I think will use them, or at least understand the sentiment of why I gave it to them. And so, so it's one I carry. And normally, again, I don't even have my lip balm on me because we just run out the house. But typically, I always have one with me, and it's just in my pocket. But I remember when I backpacked around the world, right? So I left England on a 6-day trip, and I ended up traveling for 10 and a half years, 42 countries. But there was a saying that I used a lot. And as you were telling that story, I remembered it. And I used to use it all the time. And it's the person, I think it came from Jonathan Livingston Seagull, one of those books, right? It was like the person who tosses a coin at every crossroads often arrives first at the destination. Right. And it's like, you told that parable yesterday about the Chinese farmer, where all these bad things happen, and the Chinese farmer was like, we'll see that one. Right. But the idea is we don't know, even in seemingly something bad happening, that actually it's the start of something magnificent happening. Right. And so for me, the idea of, I think there's another level from this. It's not just the head. What was it? What was the three? Head, heart,
body,
and body.
Or
body,
or gut, or whatever you want.
Gut. But I think that there's this other, for me, there's this moment of absolute trust in so yes, you have those things, but yeah, and I think all of them are equally important because, depending on the situation, if you're just going on a feeling and you need to be logical, right? And you're in a plane, right? Well, I feel it's going to be fine. And the gyro is doing that, and you're upside down, which has happened, right? People are in clouds and they don't trust the gyro because they trust their body. I mean, how many, because when you're a pilot, you get the reports on why crashes happen. And, there are pilots who are in clouds who shouldn't be, and they're upside down, and they don't trust what they can see, the information, because they're feeling that it's like I'm feeling like I'm on the right way up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that there's this other level of trust and self-trust, trusting yourself that whatever happens, regardless if it's the right or wrong, that you're going to navigate it and you're going to get through it. And so I think I call on all three. But it's just and experience plays a big role, so when you've been down the road, things that used to seem big, right? I mean, there was this thing, a principle I used to teach, if you have a level 5 problem and you're a level 2 person, it's a big freaking problem. But if you have a level 5 problem and you're a level 8 person, it's a pretty small problem. If you're a level 10 person with a level 5 problem, it's not even a problem. You don't see it as that. So I do think experience plays a role, but I love this idea that whatever happens, and if you make the wrong choice, because a lot of people, what happens, they'll do something. Relationships are a great example of that. They'll get into a relationship, fall in love, and it ends. and then they stop loving, or they jaded for the rest of their life. You know, he cheated on me with a younger, and so you go through life miserable because of one, rather than, this idea that, you can become bigger than, and the next time you encounter something, you bring this level of self-trust to the decision process, so that you know that you're always going to navigate the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is definitely going to come. So I think that's where I feel I've got to in my life. I just and I use this other principle, like the comfort zone is where most people live. And then if they really want to grow, they get into the uncomfortable zone. But to cross the bridge over to the uncomfortable zone, we talked about this last time on your podcast, right? The body's going to kind of secrete chemicals, and you're going to feel fear, apprehension, doubt, and uncertainty. So, but to really get what you want, like when you wrote the book, or when you first started your podcast, or you doing this, you're going to go through that feeling. But then there's the next level. I call it the unknown zone. And when we can live in the unknown zone, that's why I love the coin. Yeah. The unknown zone is where you can step into anything, anywhere, in any situation, any language, any food, anything. And you just know it's going to be incredible. And it ends up becoming incredible because you're not walking in with these fears, doubts, apprehensions, and necessarily you walk in with this it's like wonder. In fact, I just posted my mantra. I post a daily mantra, was about that. Is like, I want to live each day as if it's my very first on earth. That curiosity, the fascination, like I'm a little child, and it's just the wonder. You watch a young child with dirt, and they're like, oh, and they eat it. And it's like, oh, and the mom then comes along, and they take it out their mouth, but the kid is just like completely tactile. And then, I was fortunate to be with someone when they died last week. Someone who had an assisted death, and he asked me to be a part of it. To watch someone end their life on their own terms and say, I'm ready to go. And then a minute later, they're dead. But if you live life like it's your first day and your last day, the last day, but in that last moment, there's no regret. You've loved all the love you can. Everyone knows what you think of them because you're so open, authentic, and real. So that journey into the whatever's next is so easy because there's nothing unsaid, there's nothing undone, there's no regret because you live in that moment. So I think for me, it's all three, but it's that deep sense of absolute trust in self to navigate it. So
I love that. The trust is key. The trust is key, and you've demonstrated that and taught me trust because. Naturally, I'm not trusting. Trained to be not trusting throughout my entire life. It was the opposite. It was like, don't trust. That's what's going to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And then to see a different way of doing it is so cool because that trust has such a grip on the process, on the magic from happening. And then when you let go, and then the unknown comes in, and then the magic starts to happen. You can't really think your way into it. You can't control your way into it. And that's what in the past I'd be like jealous. I'm like, how the heck is that person creating that? They didn't even think it through. They didn't have a checklist. They just went and did it. Like, what the hell?
How dare they?
How dare? And so, yeah, to blow it all apart and then move into that position of trust is beautiful.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because we only think it's bad because we had a specific outcome we wanted that didn't transpire. Mm-hmm. And so now it's like, whoa, it didn't happen the way I wanted.
True.
And people think that they can control the movement of the universe. Like, you just cannot. And what's also interesting is any students that I have that are fearful of making decisions because they're like, what if I get it wrong? It's like, well, listen. It's not, they say, what happens if it's bad and bad things happen? I said, listen, it's really bad at the end. Like, none of us are making it. And they go, I'm like, why are you living like it's all going to be okay? We're all going to die.
That's right.
And they just go, huh.
Yeah.
And I love this quote. It's a great quote. It goes, and it just breaks them open. It just they just become more malleable and free. Like, you shake off all the worry.
Yes.
Like, why are we worried? Like, we're going to die. And, and so there's this great quote. I love it. It says, at the end of the chess game, the pawn and the king go back into the same wooden box.
Oh, that's good.
And so I think about...
That's a great quote.
Yeah, I think about when people are worried, like, what if this doesn't work out? I'm not that person, or I'm not this. I'm like, well, don't worry. You're going to go back in the same wooden box as everyone else. The reason I like to think like that too is because I don't like to be stuck in a state of anxiousness or worry, because life is too precious to be stuck there. And whenever I am stuck there, I just think of that like, oh, I'm going to die anyway. Don't matter, whatever. And it helps me navigate it. So it gives permission for people to live with less worry. And you just have more fun doing that. So
I actually think a lot of people they don't even get that far. They almost, it's like, it's not that they're afraid, so they're not doing. I think they've just accepted that this is...
So they don't have a choice?
They don't have a choice. I think it actually comes just a little bit before, and then they get the people that are trying. But I think there's a lot of people who are just not even searching, like you, when you read that first chapter, and that idea that, oh, that's right, what if I add purpose to what I'm already doing? What if I actually get clear on that purpose and how that can, but imagine if you hadn't done any of this work and you'd met him in a bar and he just said, hey, you should find purpose. It would have just, I mean, you wouldn't have even heard him. Yeah. It wouldn't, because, you can't hear when people are speaking a language you're not ready for, and it's just googly goop, because your body's not, and I think a lot of people are trapped there. So that's why a lot of my concepts I try and dumb down into this, not because people are dumb, it's because they're not ready for something enlightened. And a lot of new age trainers, they start talking this language and no one can hear them. Yeah, that's why I like what you said. You can bring it down to this, like, in fact, I was developing this new method. I told him, I said, this method I've got is called the no bullshit method, because that's what I feel is like there's so many methods out there, and it's like everyone. And now when you use AI and you ask AI to help you write it, it's like
it speaks like that too, doesn't
it? Just like, what is going on? It's like, who are you talking to? Like, what % of the population can hear, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. There's this weird language that's developed, hasn't there?
Oh God, And end of the day, what is most important? Watching this guy pass. I mean, we're talking about, I was sitting at the foot of his bed, and the doctor's about to inject him, right? And watching what was important. And the nurse that came in first, Mo, she came in 30 minutes early to prep him, and she put an IV into his foot, right? And then the doctor comes in, and the first thing she looks at, she said, look, are you ready? Are you sure you want to do this? None of us want you to go, but are you sure? You could back out, right? This is the first question, which is perfect, right? He's like, no, I'm ready, right? But what was important, and Mo whispered this in my ear, she said, it's really funny. She said, it doesn't matter what anyone believes. They can be atheists. They have no belief. They have believers. But at the end of the day, the last things they start to say is, I'll see you there. I'll hold you a seat, And it's the idea that there's something coming, right? Something bigger. And, but there's this kind of moment where this guy looks and goes, I'm ready. And then that was just gone. I forgot the point I was making. And what was my point?
No, I think you were saying that people are stuck, that they're not even in a position to make a decision.
Yeah, I had a really good point there. But anyway, I was just sort of thinking about that moment, that transition. Anyway.
We can splice it in.
Splice it in.
Well, I guess on the topic of death, and so many people resist dying. And I like, when I first started flying helicopters, my father-in-law came to me. He's like, do you want to help me sell helicopters and fly them? I was like, no, those things are crazy. Huh. And so there was like, but throughout my life, whenever there's that fear, it's like, okay, like I need to go towards it. And there's times when flying a helicopter where death can get pretty close. I've had, throughout my career, I've had quite a few, like it gets pretty close. And I remember the one time I was like inverted, staring at the grass in front of me. And I was like, is this it? Like, is this the moment? And I grabbed the controls, straightened it up, put it back on the ground. And I said, no, not today. Like, but that felt pretty close. But the resistance to doing things in our life because of fear it
gets lost, doesn't it? It's lost in everything else.
Yeah.
And so you can't decipher what is actually an actual near-death thing, like a helicopter accident, which is flipping, it can be likely. And something that's like, for example, what Dave teaches, which is how to speak and communicate from stage, for example.
Yeah.
And people can't decipher which is death and which is not death.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that keeps us stuck.
Well, I was thinking, going back to my point I lost when talking about this moment, was watching what was important. Was in that last moment, he knew he was going to be passing in, in a minute or 2 minutes. What was it? It was to tell someone, I love you.
Oh, beautiful.
It was to look at his son and his wife and his baby. I love you. I love you so much. And that was it. So when we boil all of this down, and we look at everything we've talked about today, we talk about this, what's it about? I think everything comes down to love and our ability to love fearlessly, unconditionally, unapologetically. That means completely authentically. So just to love. And I think that, when like last night I was sitting at the table, you were there for dinner, right? I was looking across this table, everyone's cooking together, right? And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, wow, how lucky are we to have this much love at one table, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if we boil everything down, and if people wake up in the morning then and fall hopelessly in love with their imperfection, hopelessly in love with the situation they're in, and hopelessly in love with this thing called life, where you wake up and you're like, fuck. I always say, you want to see a miracle? Fuck, look at this. Look at this hand. It's like, this is like the miracle. Look at this. Like, what? Are you kidding me? But people don't, and that's how I feel. I said to him, I never get tired. Why? Because I'm so much in love with the moment. Like
Yeah.
this, there's nowhere else in the world I'd rather be right now.
Yeah.
And right here.
That's cool.
And it's like, he's flying back to Australia today, but we don't even know what time it is.
No, we don't. And I think also, like what you said yesterday, I love that you find adventure in errands.
Yeah.
I think about that. Like, an errand is an adventure. And even before we flew here, people say, well, that's a long way. Like, and even by being here from Australia and Canada, you talk to a Canadian, you say, where are you from? Australia. Whoa. How long did it take to get here? It's like, yeah, it's so hard. It's so difficult. You got to get on a plane. You have to sit down and watch movies.
And
They
drink
bring
some
you
wine.
food and drink some wine. It's this weird thing that we get. It's so easy to fall in that trap, though, because even I fall in the trap where I forget to find the magic and adventure in everything. And it's incredible that we get to fly around the world in a single day anyway. It's incredible that we're alive because we have a 1 in 400 trillion chance of being here. So getting a reminder like that every day is important.
We should tell a story about. So Alicia was talking to his wife, and she was telling a story about a flight, and she said, 25 hours. And I said, can we just play with that a minute? And she's like, and I think she was telling a story about someone else. It wasn't her necessarily. She said, but flying for 25 hours, all right? And I'm like, how I say, and it only took a day to get there. It's like,
It's a flip.
just one day I could be in Australia. But it's just like, but it took 20. Who gives a shit? One day of your life and you're on a whole new continent. It's like, but that's the brain. It can't be trusted. And you could see her. I know she's going to, his wife is the best student ever, but she's just like, I get this. It's like, hey, it's only a day.
Yeah,
what
she's
if it took a week? It takes 1 week. Imagine the old times when we got on boats.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, yeah.
It took, it only take a month to get there.
Yeah.
A month of your life to go to a new land, right? Across an ocean. But look at us. Oh, God. I got to drive to town. You see the traffic on the bridge. We live in Okanagan. The big joke is go to the west side. The traffic. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We just get entitled. We suffer from entitlement. I watched this documentary of the Donner Party. You heard of that story?
No.
Where this family, the Donner family, they were the last family, one of the last families to go west on the old trails with the horse and the caravan. And that was like in the mid 1800s. And they listened to a guy and went on the wrong pass. They took a shortcut and it didn't work out for them. They got too late to the east side of the Californian mountains, and winter came, and it was the most brutal winter in the history of California. Right when they were passing through, and it's a pretty gnarly story because they all had to end up eating each other to live. And I think, yes,
Oh, great,
Like,
great story.
yeah.
Dark.
Thanks a lot for that.
I have a point.
It's not just drug and end there.
I talk about self-induced death, and he goes in
And they ate each other.
Have a great life, everyone.
Yeah. But I was thinking to myself, like, why I'm telling that hopefully now memorable story for those listening to the show is because now we got an airplane and fly from where they went was like the Oregon Trail, like
That
30
was
minutes.
the reason
No,
for
it's
telling that
nothing.
story?
Well, it could be worse. It could be
worse.
them.
It could be
We all live so much better than anyone in history.
Yeah.
We do. We live, I think I read a stat, we live 6 times better than John D. Rockefeller. And I just read his biography, which is amazing. And he was the wealthiest man, like one of the wealthiest in history. And we live 6 times better than him, like in healthcare and the living conditions, So I think it's you have to dig yourself in the ribs and remind yourself of that sometimes. So, yeah.
I was playing. My guys were talking the other day about like what timeline would you want to live in? Like what, like where, like now, 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and I was like a resounding. Is that a word? Now that's where I want to be right now. Like with everything that's going on, I know there's all this talk about AI and all this. There's the negativity that can flood us and get to us very quickly and easily, but it is so awesome what's going on right now with everything. Like just even between, we can fly places, we can listen to music, we can watch videos, we can connect with each other, we can talk, we have a helper on our phone now that just tells us anything we want to know, whatever we want.
It's amazing.
It is crazy.
But we're spoiled with choice.
Absolutely.
And so,
I want to share on that point. My dad, we'd play this game, and he's passed now, but he was 94, 95 when he passed. And we'd play this game, and we'd go around, and people say, "Oh, I want to be back in the cowboy days." "Oh, I'd love to be here, at the top of the Eiffel Tower when you had Edison there, and you had these 3 great minds, and light bulb was in, da, da, da." And my dad sat there, he'd always go last. He'd say, "I'd like to come back in 100 years from now."
yeah.
He said, "Because I know everything." He's a history buff. "I know everything that's happened in the past." He said, "What I would be excited just to see what's going to happen
funny.
in the future."
My dad
And
said that too.
I actually think about that all the time. It's like, bring on the future. I'm sorry, because everyone said, do you remember? I mean, look at the 60s. I mean, Elvis Presley was thought to be an antichrist because he wiggled his
my
hips,
God. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you go through all of the different iterations, and every group said, "Oh, this generation who had free love in the 60s and mini skirts," right? And then you go through in all these different generations, and here we are today. "Oh, AI." It was just to be, and we've always had it, right? And so I don't know. I just think the future has never been brighter. And, in the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the world's doing. I truly believe it's the world that we live in. Look at this. I mean, we just walked, we drove because we didn't want to be late. But we're like, wander over to the neighbor's house, the neighbor, and doing this. And last night we were sitting eating great food, watching shooting stars, right? And yesterday we spent the whole day on the mountain on motorbikes, dirt biking, and we're covered in dust and shit. And then early morning we're on, in the workout. But there's this thing called life in our world. So it's not the world.
Yes.
It's our world. And whatever we want to create in our world, we can still create. If you don't want to be on the phone, you don't want to use AI, you could go and you could put a little greenhouse at the bottom of the garden. You can grow your own vegetables. So whatever the fuck you want to do, you can do. So what are we talking about? Create the world you want and make it extraordinary. So
Yes.
yeah. Drop the mic.
Yeah, just toss it.
Yeah. But what's been great is to live with Dave for the last few days. It seems like we've done a lot. We have done a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great because my friend Gavin says that some things can't be taught, they must be caught. And hanging out with Dave in his place and how he lives is something you catch because he does teach it too, but it's easier to learn it when you're in close proximity to those who live it. So it's been awesome to get another injection of living life by design or the genius of living. So it's been awesome to do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is getting very philosophical. you have any other questions?
Well, I think this is how we doing. I don't even. Are
don't
these
know.
still running? We
probably
should,
an
we
hour
should
and
make
a
sure
half.
they're going.
What we'll do is we'll use this as well.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah,
I
we
thought
should.
I knew that halfway
Yeah,
through.
same. I was
So
like,
this,
yep,
you could just he'll take so you'll both publish it, and you could edit it the way you want.
Sure.
So, do you want to ask anything? What do you? Is there anything you?
well, I think we've covered a lot of your philosophy as well in these stories we've been sharing. I mean, our podcast, Money Grows on Trees, is about money, and it's very practical, pragmatic money stuff. But I have guests in that talk about their story, and what I love about Dave's story is that he, from what I understand, because I didn't know him back then when he didn't have the wealth that he has, but he was probably living a very similar. He was probably living in a similar nature to how he lives now, which is probably why he built wealth and how he is with people, and he's very committed and disciplined. And I'm sure those things were developed, but I'm sure he had it in him as well from the stories I heard last night from his friends. But he then has built this life where he has money. And I thought, well, what would be cool if he could talk to us about, because my second book is Money Buys Happiness. And so do you feel like you were the same happiness as you are now back then when you didn't have any money?
Well, yeah, in some ways. I mean, because you don't. I'll tell a story, and it will give you some context. Right? I realized I love water, and I remember that I'd started working and I started making money, but I was sent. The company I was working with, we opened a place in France. And so we had an office on the Champs-Élysées, and we had a warehouse in Le Havre. Le Havre it's a port town. And so here I am. I've got an unlimited expense account. You know, I'm opening up a new territory. And still I went back to my backpacking philosophies, which is I found the most beautiful street in Le Havre, which was up on this hill, and it overlooked the port. So the boats, and I've always been attracted. When I sailed across the Atlantic, I fell in love with boats in a way that is hard to do. It's like you and I have with Harleys today on the bike.
Yeah.
Just, when you rode off on the bike, and I could feel in you, this is a man who loves to be on a bike, especially that bike.
Yeah.
And we could feel it in each other.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to live on this street. But here I am with all this money, endless expense account. I was making a fortune, right? And I went and tapped on every single door on the street. And I said, hey, I'm just asking, is there any chance you could rent a room? Do you have a room here? Because I actually wanted to have that view. And after the fourth house, this guy says, well, I can't believe this. So, and he spoke some English. My French was pretty bad, but he spoke some English. He said, we're just renovating a room for a rental. And it had the biggest window overlooking this view, and there was the house, there was this little tiny road, there was a grass verge, and then there was the view. It was like, and he said, "Come in," and it was kind of all brand new. It was like the bathroom was just being fitted. They hadn't grouted the tile, but it was like it was a few days from completion. He said, "We'd love you to rent it. You were obviously sent here," and so I ended up. So that is what for me, happiness for me was about making sure that I was never a victim of circumstance. I would, whatever I wanted to have happen, I knew I could create. I could have happen. And I learned that from traveling. Traveling, backpacking around the world and having no money meant that I had a rule, right? I couldn't spend any money until I found somewhere to live.
Yep.
I had work and income, right?
Yep.
So those were things. So I slept on roofs. And the first day I stepped into a new country, I went and knocked on doors and talked to people. And I had to find somewhere to live, and I had to find work, or I couldn't eat. It was the rule I made on myself.
Yeah.
So I meant I had to, but imagine you meet this guy who wanders into your business, and he's kind of like, a backpacker, and he's like, hello, mate. and they have to know, like, and trust you. And then once they say, oh, I can give you a job, you have to tell them, well, I don't have a work permit. So you have to pay me cash under the table. Right. So then I say, I'll work for free if you can give me somewhere to live. And then after 4 or 5 days, I said, oh man, I just need to make some money. And they'd say, because I worked so hard, and I'd be the best at everything I did, only because it took the same energy to be extraordinary or something. Like if I was cleaning a room, when you went into my room, it was clean, right? Because I'd modeled the best, and then I would just add more.
Yep.
So I think that those things, I lived in this world of magic. It was like I teach this idea of the magician.
Yes.
You know, when you can walk through it and it's like the world bends in your favor.
Yes.
But it only bends in your favor if you're willing to bend with it.
Yes.
It's almost like, you know, you kind of like, because there's no rules.
Yes.
And so I think that the money was never the determining factor.
Yeah.
Having it, I still don't think about it in the same way. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, is it? I had these views. I mean, you can describe the view. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary.
I'd have to say it's the best house I've ever been in. Not the biggest, but the best. If you come into David's house, it's like holy. It's been designed for great living.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, and it's on the no.
That's what?
No, I was going to say, and if you want to buy it, no. Get it out there. If you happen to be looking for a house in Cologne, Canada, phone 1-800.
But what was really funny the other day when you texted and you're like, "Hey, Dave, are you home?" And I'm like, "No, we're out. We were somewhere. I can't remember." You're like, "Well, we were riding our bikes around Cal Lake."
That's right. You were
So
swimming.
we were out, and we were like just found this little private beach, Astor and I. And we were like swimming, and you're like, "Oh, we didn't even ask." He's like, "Oh, we're going to go for a swim." And like 30 seconds later, he sends me a video of him and his whole family jumping in our pool. That is what a home feels like. When we left yesterday, my neighbor Terry, Terry, if you want to go for a swim, come for a swim. And then we got back a few hours later, and he's like, "Oh, I went for a swim, thanks." But to me, that's the magic. Oh, I feel in the house is the love. It's all people feeling that. Feeling at home in the home. I would say the home is the extension of the heart. And however your heart is, the home should reflect that. You know, so if your heart open and you're warm and generous and kind, then as soon as you walk into someone's house, that feeling can be there. And if it's not there and if the home's open and you're not, you feel uncomfortable. It's like, oh, what do I do? How do I stand?
If
Right?
the home's open
And
but you're not.
Yeah. Then it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But if the home's open and you're open, it's like, oh my God, I just feel like, and that's what you're feeling now.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, I was talking to my wife Alicia about it. I'm like, oh, I'm excited to be at our place because we want to model some of the things in the same way. Because I notice you don't find people a burden as a friend, or like we don't find our friends burdens, but anyone, like neighbors. And if you look at Western society, it seems to be like, oh, my neighbor, right? And it's the approach. But this morning not this morning, like an hour and a half ago, when we left Dave's house to come in here, we jumped in the car, and as we went past his neighbor's place, like right, his next door neighbor, he happened to have just bought your car,
My Jag,
right?
yeah.
The Jag. And I said, oh, my dad's got a Jag. He's like, what type? I said, the F type. And he said, well, I've got an F type. But I just gave it I sold it to my neighbor, Terry, right next door. So we're driving away, we're out, and we saw it there. And it was coming out of the garage. And we stopped. And I said, oh, can I take a quick photo for my dad? And Dave's like, yep, and get in it. And
No, I said, hey, Terry, because Terry was in it. I said,
Yeah,
Terry, get
Terry
out.
was in it, yeah.
I said, get out there. We're going to take a photo. So Terry, he's like he's trying to get out. He's like, he's an old 70-year-old. Anyway, so he jumps in but I don't know.
it's just so, how can I say, it's a lightness to it.
Mm-hmm. It is.
When you watch David live,
Yeah.
there's a lightness to that. Like it's unburdened.
When you think about the best times we've ever, is when you show up unexpectedly. Do you remember that one time? It's one of my favorite times with us. Is you showed up to say hello because he sees the car in and they go by and they can see that I'm there. Wandered over, and it turned out to 9 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the kids came over for dinner. We just looked at. We just dragged some food out the fridge and we set up the table and then we were swimming and it was hours. Now we've done that a few times, but it was that particular first time was teaching them. It wasn't because for us it was normal, but for
Yes.
other people you actually have to teach them. Like he pushes the door open now, and it's normally only locked if, like Terry locked it yesterday. My neighbor, the neighbor came over for a swim and he locks the door. My housekeeper, but normally now you just push it open and come in, right? But teaching other people to treat it that way. Which you do now beautifully, right?
Well, and this is what
feels weird, right?
What I'm seeing is like your magic happens when you're breaking rules.
Yeah.
Because like I got all these rules, all this society that you got to knock before you go in. And when you first said, "Yeah, Luke, come on over, just push the door in," and I remember walking to your house, standing there outside, and I was like, fuck. He wants me just to go in without knocking or
These are
announcing.
breaking the rules.
I'm like, it's all these constructs that I've
Yes.
just put around myself, and then I find it hard to move. I wonder
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
So it was funny when we went to go swim that day. I said, Naomi's like, oh, we should go. We should see if we go swimming at David's. I was like, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, he would love it if we just went. And my daughter Emma, she said, no, we need to ask Dad. And I said, no, he'd love it if we went. And she wouldn't come until you gave her until I'm like, well, I'll send him a note.
What
then.
did she learn that from?
Totally. I taught her how to behave, and now I'm trying to unteach. And so it was just fascinating because, yeah, like there's all these rules. Like you just described so many rule breaking things, like walking up to people's street and ask them if they have a place for rent. To you, that's just like, I should do that.
Yeah.
For people like me that I'm
Yeah.
working on, it's like, I don't
Yeah.
think I want to bother them, or I won't knock on their door because they don't know me.
Well, it's funny when my son Calvin I'm sorry if I interrupted, bought his first house. We went to look with a realtor, with Mark. We went to look at this place. And it was as soon as I saw it, I didn't even bother. So I just wandered around the neighborhood, and I went and knocked on someone's door. And I was like, hey, I said, do you know anyone who wants to sell? And she's like, yeah, us. I'm like, oh, can I have a quick look? So I wander in, I go upstairs, look around, come back, and Mark's still showing Calvin the house. And I wander in, I say, Mark, I found what we're buying. He's like, what? Where? I said, come with me. And I wandered over and I knocked on the door again. I said, can we have another look? Anyway, and we bought it.
How good.
This happens wherever you go.
I know.
The magic happens.
Yeah, you're telling me the story with your Harley Davidson too. That's it. Like, I love Dave's Harley. It's a cool Harley, and not all of them are cool, I think.
No, you're right.
But yours is cool. And so we've been going to the gym on the Harley, and he said, you know, there's a story around that. I said, okay. He said, I'll tell you later. And I was like, oh, that's disappointing. So we're at the yacht club having lunch.
Tease.
And he told us, he said, see that seaplane over the back there? It's like, yeah. He's like, well, I can fly those. I'm like, yeah, I knew that you could fly them. He said, well, I went out with a guy one day, and we're up in the plane, and at that point he had kind of borrowed-ish a Harley from the Harley Davidson shop. And
I had, not him.
you had, yeah, and you were going to give it back because you or you were going to maybe buy it. But maybe
I
not.
told him I was going to buy it.
Yeah, you
I was
said
gonna
to
go
him you're
pick
going
it
to
up.
buy it, and he's in the airplane with his friend.
And I pulled up outside, where the yacht club is. I left the bike right by the plane. So my friend,
Saw it.
flying with, he saw it.
And what did he say? Oh,
He's
you're not
like,
gonna buy that, are you?
he's like, I didn't know you like Harleys. I said, oh, since I was a kid, I always said when I got 60, I was going to buy a Harley because I thought being a grandfather at 60, I wanted to be really cool. So I said it for years in my head, and here I am 60, and COVID had just hit, and I'm like looking around, and I find this Harley, but it fit me, but it was a red sparkly bike.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. And my friend who's a Harley guy, he walked in my garage, he went, does it match your handbag? This is kind of right.
That's
But
gone.
I was like, fuck him. I'm gonna buy the bike. It feels good. I feel good on. So we're in the air. We're on a 2-hour flight, and we're already like 5 minutes in the air. And he's talking about the bike, and then I said, no, I was always gonna buy a Harley. He said, well, I've got one. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, my dad died, and I despise Harleys, and you can have it. I said, well, where is it? And it was just down the road here. We're talking about 2 minutes from here in someone's garage or shed. And I turned the plane around, I landed, and the 2 hours turned into like 18 minutes. And as soon as I saw it, it was like, whoa! Like that, it was like the bike that had been my whole life. I knew I was gonna get. And you wouldn't bullshit. I mean, that is one cool.
That's a good story, but I mean, what's interesting is it's better than I went and bought it.
Oh, so
Like it's just more fun and interesting.
Yeah.
And so again, mostly I talk about or teach about money principles, but you think about what a Harley's worth, and that guy with all the gear, it's worth thousands of dollars on top of that. So here's David attracting this Harley into his life because of I would say without question, the relationship he developed with his friend. So when it comes to money making, I think why David is like, well, I kind of had the same thoughts when I didn't have actual wealth, like money, as I have now, because he's attracted it all through the behavior and how he is with people, how he is with yourself, how he is with me, my wife Alicia. The more I learn about money, the more I realize that it's got nothing to do with money. It's
an energy.
It's an energy. It's your ability to.
I want to just, because I hit something that to really answer your question. One thing I said in my story, which someone who's listening may not have picked up on, was I always, when I entered their world, I always gave so much. I brought, like, if I was cleaning a room or whatever job I was given, like I was in a kibbutz in Israel, right? And I had to clean the pots and pans. And it was the shittiest job on the kibbutz. So I just got there. So I was given the shittiest job, and I turned it into this magical experience where all the ladies in the kitchen, they fucking loved me. They'd stash food in my bag, and I mean, I worked so hard though. They loved me because of my work ethic. But then when I'd go up and cuddle them, and they're all old, and they're like 100 years old, and they're like, we fed 800 people, and I would be able to go walk down the beach during my shift because I worked so hard, and they knew that I would be able to do the job at such a high level, and they'd have so much fun. And like, you know, it was like I had the best job, and I'd get all this extra food. Why? Because I gave so much. It wasn't just a job.
Yes.
It was noticing and caring and loving all these old ladies.
Yes.
So I brought this life in, and that's what money is.
Yes.
I think that.
Yes. And most people get it confused.
Well.
Done well. And most people get it confused with, well, I went to work and I did this many hours, give me money.
Yeah.
And there's no slight edge extra. There's nothing they do that sets them apart.
Right.
And they don't take risk. And I'm not talking about jumping out of aeroplanes with no parachute risk. I'm talking about social risk. So they don't knock on the door. They don't say hello. They don't, because there's social risk in that. Because you can be humiliated, rejected, judged. And that's why they also don't get on social media like what you're doing at the moment, because it's like, well, I have to move through the judgment. So it's social risk that holds people in this place, that prevents them from doing the behavior that attracts, which is giving and going that bit extra and entertaining and having fun. They don't do those things. So opportunity doesn't find them. It stays lost. And so the more I learn about it, the less it's about money.
Well, and again, another tacking onto the kibbutz, it was the shittiest job.
Yeah.
And I approached it with the best attitude that they'd ever felt. I mean, they'd had volunteers there for years, decades, and they never had someone come in and do the.
Where did you get that from?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a great question. I mean, like I had to do, like as a kid. I mean, I used to iron my bed sheets and my own clothes when I was 5 and 6 and 7. My mom was a tyrant. So as far as doing jobs well, if we had to tidy our room and it wasn't done like this, she would come and pull all the mattresses on the floor. She'd tip everything on. So there would be this big pile, and you're a little kid and you have to start over. So actually
like
doing a job. Oh God, yeah, she was crazy. She's still alive. Love her. Yeah, she was fucking nuts. But no, she's.
I'm not going to send her the link to the episode.
Yeah,
Hey,
she'll love it.
Yeah.
We have a great family, but it's just that idea of that work ethic. And I see it in my brother, I see it in my sister. We're all like, you know, if we given a task, we go above and beyond. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But the attitude part, they don't have now. Well, my sister a bit, but my brother doesn't. He's learning it when he's with us. He just spent 3 weeks with us.
Right.
I see him. He gets excited now when he interacts with people in this free way, and he comes and tells me, it's like, oh my God, the guy at the gas station, this happened, and I can see him really enjoying being free in his expression.
Yeah.
You know, that's why they love coming hanging out.
Yeah.
We just go on these journeys and we have this crazy fun.
Yeah.
And he's left brain. He's like, you know, he had the checklist because he's military. So he was taught his whole life to do what he was told, how he was told, to behave a certain way, don't take risk. And then there's me. I'm like, crazy.
What brings you to that? You do get that living with Dave. Like, he just rubs off on you.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is, and I've mentioned this to our students in the past as well. So if I think about this for a second, we flew on a whim to an event that David was hosting in Perth in 2014, November, and watched him train, participated. And now, 10 years later, I'm sitting here living in his house I say living. Oh, we have been living. It's not like I'm here on a, we've been living. So living in his house for the past few days, first time here. And he also endorsed my book and has been in my books. And and has been not just a mentor but a friend over that time. We've done other things, but the reason why I think that happened too is because when we went to his events, we didn't just go. We went and we participated. And I went to the same event you did. You know how many times?
15. You told.
Yeah,
I heard you last night.
Yeah, like 15 times to the exact. It's the same event. And so when you're a trainer, you do run the same event. But I didn't see it as the same event. But I also wanted to be closer to Dave. That was the way to get closer to him. And so when it came time to go to Manchester and Europe, when I knew he was doing an event that I'd been to 13 times before, I went with a friend and we went there with the intention to say, well, Dave's going to be in a room with like 50 people. We can hang out with him even more. So we flew there and people were like, why are you flying to that event again? I wasn't really. I just wanted to, I was signed up to the philosophy of how he lived. And I just wanted more of it. And so I think doing that extra bit, like flying there where we didn't need to, going to the same event, but not just going, but participating, is the same on a different scale to what you were doing with the kaputs. Like, it's just because people have been to your events, but there's people that go to the events and there's people that like buy into to everything and start wanting to emulate that philosophy of how to live life. And without any of the things I learned there, there's no way we could have created the life we have, because the lessons I learned allowed us to scale that first business, which I talk about in the book.
And now it's funny because I'm going to you for advice on this next part of my journey, which is because that's his genius, right? Cool. So it's like, hey, can you help me out? It's like, you know, and I would, you know, and I think that's what life's like. I was telling them the story. You finished?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Yeah. Telling the story how we met, and the fact that you and Naomi were coming back from a network marketing title, like the celebration event, whatever, and she's all lit up and standing next to each other at the airport. And I was just saying, isn't it funny? Here I am at the high level of a network marketing company, you know, at the C-suite level, and yet, you know, here she is pitching me and doing everything the classical way, you know, like setting an appointment, and just this loving you to immediately to say, these are cool people. But we were talking about this in the kitchen just before we came over, and I said, it wouldn't it be funny if the two things could have happened. One is I could have attempted to cross, let's do this whole thing, we'll get you in mind, that thing. The second could be, you know what, actually, you know, I'm already da 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 da. Or it could be, these are really cool people, I wonder, we should get to know each other.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And it's just that, and then what do we live? I mean, I've walked to your house in bare feet in the snow. Yeah. I've delivered a ping pong table. No, but isn't it funny that I believe life is like that? You just, if every time we get in the moment, in that moment there, that the friendship that we've developed, because I think she turned around to me, right, and said hello because she was trying to recruit for her new business. I think that's
I don't know. I just remember we both saw you walk in and it was just like, that guy's fucking cool. I'm not like we'll hold the head here for a second, but there's just a vibe. There was a vibe. There was this like, oh, that guy's fucking cool. Like he's free, he's talkative, and because we were at customs, I think we were at customs. We were claiming something at customs, and then like the wonderful thing that I met you, because it helped me move through so much of my barriers. And but it was the demonstration of it, not the
teaching. It's
the
not
the teaching. It's the
living
demonstration.
it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then not knocking on your door. And even when you said, yeah, you should come over sometime, and we're like, who is this?
Who lives like this?
Who says come over when you first meet them? So again, just blowing apart the social constructs, and it's the energy that is that's felt.
Yeah, the embodiment. Like,
yeah,
Dave embodies what he teaches, which is why it's probably fairly effortless, I'd imagine, to teach that at the events that you've run, right? I mean, not effortless, but you're in alignment. Dare I say, you're in alignment with your own philosophy, right? Which is why.
Well, I think you know, because who's listening, right? I'm thinking about, you know, as we get close to, the end of what we're talking about, just someone listening, what would be that, alignment, embodiment, what we're really talking about here is with the money as an energy, life as an energy. I mean, so what could someone take away? I'm fascinated by what someone listening right now could take from this conversation if they've listened to the whole thing or parts of it, what they could take from it that would make a difference today. Because that's what I'm fascinated by. So, I think we should think about that. I'm not trying to push it away from me, but I understand how I live my life is different because everywhere I go, I feel liberating. Because I just, like I said to you, I've got this new friend in my life who's kind of new on the scene. And I said to Lloyd, I said, I just walk into people's lives and I treat them as if they're already my best friend. And it's just so much fucking easier by just walking up and giving them a hug and, giving them a kiss. I kiss all my men, that, right? And it's just like, give them a kiss on the cheek. And it's like, and you could see them a little bit in the beginning, but it doesn't take long for good people to feel it. Now, if they're all uptight and then they don't last long in the orbit. They find my orbit very, very, they don't want to be there. But what do you think people want to take? Or what are you taking away? What are we all taking away from this that maybe someone could learn from?
I think back to the to tie it all together, that money is energy, and relationships are energy, and if we're transactional, if we're so logical that I'm going to put in a certain amount of this to get a guaranteed return, whether it's an investment or in a relationship, the transactional way of doing things, it doesn't lead to the magic or growth. Well, when you just pour yourself into something, whether it's cleaning dishes or if it's writing a book, it's pouring yourself into it with the unknown, being like, I don't know if it's going to be transactional, but I'm giving. And then it does come back. It's just not calculated.
Yes. I would say that from this conversation, especially this last part, is that you don't need to have money to live a rich life. And I think people have this have-do-be mentality. Like, well, once I have money, then I'll be able to do the things that rich people do, and I'll be able to be the rich person, and I'll be this great person. And it's the opposite of that, where it's like, well, what if I just, don't matter how much money's in my bank account, what if I just started living a rich, deeply rich life of the errands into adventures and flipping a coin for decisions and treating people like they're your best friend when you meet them? And like, what if I just did that now, being broke? And then all of a sudden you're not broke. You're not broke because one of the best things from last night's dinner is the wealth of great people around a table having dinner. It's in that where the magic lies, and you don't need to be super wealthy to do that. You can do it. Like David, you did it when you Beth was telling me yesterday that David said, can we stay one night? And he ended up staying a month in her house, and she was a stranger, really, at an event. So you can start, you don't need money to live a rich life, I would say. Yes. And I would say, even as an add-on, is to get wealthy in terms of money requires you to live that life now before you have it. So,
yeah. I think along those lines, where you're at right now with this, moving into this new chapter. And if you haven't listened to the early part of this, go back and listen. No, but this new chapter of you, right? That sense, there's a sense of, right? Because you're going to you're going to give up a part here to create this here. And I think a lot of people, that decision to step into something and allow you, the money's, I think the money's okay to talk about money and to make it about money as well. But I think underneath that there's that detachment to what you want to bring. It's kind of like the money's going to be the byproduct of this new life that you're going to generate and create. That's going to have an impact on the whole family. But you know what I'm saying? But and I think that a lot of money comes from a lot of energy. and a lot of people impacted by that energy. And I think remembering that, you've 10x'd your income. And you're already, you kind of, because you had the philosophies around wealth where you knew how to build wealth through compound interest and through a steady approach. But now through impacting so many lives, I mean, your income, and I know what it is. I'm not going to say it but it's fucking remarkable. It puts you in the 0.1% of income earners in the world, in the sense of, but why? Because you're helping people get real results and you charge for it, which is absolutely essential. I don't think you charge enough. I mean, you should double it. Well, no, really, you know that.
Sure.
You give so much value for the money that people spend. I mean, it's like ridiculous compared with when you look at some of these other people who are effective, but they charge you this nutty amount of money. But I think that what you do, and I think that's what I want to say to you, because I think you, like everyone else, is to think about that. How do I create this new energy of stepping into something like a new, like excited again, which you are, and then the ability to impact a lot of people, and then allowing the wealth to grow in direct proportion to the amount of impact you have. And then it gets really exciting because you're like, I swear to God, it's going to happen. And you're going to go, I don't believe it. So I just look what just happened, right? Because there's no longer about, and then the bigger reward is listening to him. That's why you saw me wipe a tear away. Listening to someone say, I was, in 2014, I sat in a room, listened to someone, and here I am. That is, imagine that. So someone listening right now who's stuck somewhere, listening to you talk, and they're like, fuck, if Luke can do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick up a microphone. And I'm going to start. And that is what I think the big reward is that ripple of impact. And that's why I truly believe when you live in that space, then money isn't part of the conversation. It's just a byproduct of living extraordinarily well. Right.
100%.
And then, you do what the fuck you want, when you want, with whom you want.
Yeah.
How often you want.
Yeah.
Wherever you want.
Yeah. And that's a completely different life again, because when you can't say no, you're going to do everything. We're going here. You want to come? Okay. Yeah, it's an amazing thing. But also, you can create a completely different life in 10 years. Like, well, certainly people do it sooner. But for us, my wife Alicia and I, we were in 9 to 5. Like, we were in jobs that weren't lighting us up in 2014, and we stumbled across the vehicle of network marketing, but David allowed us to bring it to life. And it was the embodiment of the principles of how to live that helped us build that business. Because even in our team now, we still have that business, 11 years old. There's a culture and a connection between our team members that is been enriched because of the principles that we learned. And it's still there. And
it's not the principles you learned, it's the principles you embody.
Yes.
That you learned.
Yes.
And that's the part. It's learning it's not enough. Reading this is not enough. It's embodying what I like that first chapter you talked about. And I get so goosebumpy right now because, we talked about you. I love telling people what is said behind their back. How extraordinary you are as a man and how you come. He only met you last night, but how beautiful you are as a human being. That's pretty fucking cool to have, where great people see it. And sometimes we just got to believe it, right? So it's not this, it's what will you do today that will bring that to life. And I always say, I'm a big, ready, fire, aim. And you're a ready, aim.
I'm still breaking it.
Aim, fire. But look at this podcast. We didn't talk about anything that we were going to do in advance. And I think this is probably one of the funnest podcasts I've ever done.
Yeah, I think it's one of the funnest I've ever done.
Me
Yeah.
too.
All right.
All right, we've stumbled across something great.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll do
I don't know
it once
who's
a month. Someone's going to close it. It's your podcast. You're the one that should close it up.
Yes. David,
Jesus.
So to
He's
wind
gonna
up. What's one takeaway? All right.
I think we're good.
Well, the last time I did a podcast with him, it was the same. He never ended it. I think we were 2 hours.
Well, it's
But
so
it was
easy to talk about it all because we're all the same values, but we all love,
We all love Luke.
love each other.
each other. Well, thank you, Lloyd, for being here. Thank you, David, for being here. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, the opportunity to hang with you guys is awesome. I really appreciate it. So
You
thank
betcha, you bet. And thank you for being on our show.
You should thank him now.
Yeah, thank you for being on the Money Grows and Peace podcast. Thanks for being on the show, Dave. It's been a long time. Glad we finally did it. And yeah, subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, hit it.
And
Leave
I
a
want to
comment.
I want to thank you both for being at my house.
All right.
Okay,
All right,
thanks.
ciao.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Money Grows on Trees. If you enjoyed the episode, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and subscribe to us on YouTube so you never miss an episode. And if you're serious about building wealth, make sure to check out the links in the show notes and follow me on all social media platforms at Lloyd James Ross for more. See you in the next episode.